Hello everybody, it has been quite some time and I want to thank you for joining me in my next year's installment of the Creepypasta story horror readings. So this one is called The Stalker. It was done on November 3rd of this year. The trigger warnings are abduction and kidnappings, death, murders and disappearances, psychological horror, fatal attraction, love by Rachel Morrison. And it's going to be a very short story, so I want to thank you guys for subscribing to the channel and pretty much everything that has gone down, from all the drama, from changing my style of videos over and over again. I think I have found the right one to go through with this, and this is the perfect month to do creepy stories, which I will do every couple of days on this channel, which I will have a I will have a playlist of all of my videos of creepypasta stories. So this one is called The Stalker. Let's get right into it. It was a typical fall morning. I sought out my usual seat at the local bistro down the street. The previous day had been an excruciatingly long one, and the one thing that got me through was knowing I always had my solo breakfast date in the morning. I sat down in the familiar comfort of the wicker chair, basking in the morning light streaming through the large glass window. I opened my laptop to check the local news. I was attempting to act more adult-like, and the adults do that, right? I opened the browser and was taken aback by the big, bold letters in the headline. Third woman found drowned. A serial killer is arising. I voluntarily gasped so loud that the elderly men sitting in my peripherals gave a startled jump. In the description, it said that the women were all in their early 20s with no true connection with one another. The only evidence tying them together was that they all had locks of hair missing upon their investigation. Suddenly feeling uneasy, I left money on the table to cover my untouched breakfast and sent a quick email to work explaining that I needed a sick day, and hastily grabbed my belongings. I started walking down the familiar cobblestone road, journeying back home, pepper spray clasped in one hand, my keys grasped in the other. I felt paranoid that my heart was exploding with adrenaline. I kept believing I was being followed, turning only to see a bare dry leaf skidding across the pavement. Before I had time to even shift my view back ahead of me, I bumped straight into a tall, muscular figure that was towered over me. My fight or flight kicked in until I looked up to see kind eyes and an apologetic smirk. He asked if he could escort me home given the recent danger over the encompassed town. As we arrived to my townhouse, I learned that his name was John and that he would be accompanying me to breakfast the next morning. The first few months were blissful in the throes of young love. The honeymoon phase never faltered. The love grew stronger every minute, and then suddenly when I expressed my undying love and proposed moving in with him, John grew distant. The kindness in his eyes had replaced with worry and despair. He officially broke things off with me a week later. I decided to start following him home. I'm not being predatory, I told myself. I'm just making sure he's doing alright. As I drove by, I saw what my deepest, most dreading thought I had was. He was opening the passenger side door of a car for a woman. A long, naturally wavy red hair, her thin waist that accentuated her beautiful curved hips, and a smile that could brighten up the darkest room. My heart immediately burst into flames, and my eyes immediately welled, streaming salty tears into my gaping mouth, and my hands grasped the steering wheel so tight I thought my circulation was cutting off. Not wanting to cause any attention to myself, I drove home, every emotion filling my entire being to the core. As I got home, I opened the bottle of wine that had been collecting dust, I hardly ever drank, and let my dying insides feel the warmth and comfort of the alcohol coursing through me. After the first bottle came a second. After a second came a third. I must have really blacked out because when I awoke, I was sitting on the edge of a canal, not too far from home. I tried to search my mind for any evidence of how I got there, until I saw a figure approach in the darkness. As they got closer and closer, I blacked out again. I awoke to sirens and lights and several EMTs surrounding me, all seemingly relieved that I had come to. When I asked what had happened, they explained they found me washed up on shore. It had looked like I had a wicked fight in the battle I had endured, and they were shocked I made it out alive. Once the police wrapped me in a blanket and finished questioning me, I exulted a sigh of relief. I knew my plan would have been foolproof, but I staged myself as a victim that would push myself further down the suspect list. I knew the redhead would beat me there, as long as I posed as John, sending a brief text. One thing I didn't mention that was in the headline. Every woman that had gone missing was the one who had taken one of my lovers away. Suspicion started to arise as they started to bring me in for questioning more and more, but I knew that at least now I was safe, as long as I tended to the body shortly. As the officer took one final glance back at me, I kept on the mask of confusion, sorrow, and fear. When he turned his back, I allowed myself to smile as I reached into my pocket and brushed my fingers against a new trinket, a lock of wavy red hair. Well, it seems that she was the serial killer the whole time. Anyway, I want to thank you guys for joining me on this fresh journey into Creepypasta territory. Let me know what you guys thought of the story in the comments. It was very short, I know, but that leaves room for growth and more stories in the future. So, thank you guys, and I will see you guys in the next one.